That is not easy to do, to get him to crack a smile. Leave it to Coop to be able to do that. But Jalen's Eagles have been, aside from a single stumble against Washington, an absolute tear since October. Many were questioning, Jules, you even admitted to it, if this team early on in the year could get this thing done. And after a slow start, here they are, regrouped and during the bye, and went on to collect a franchise record 17 wins on their way to New Orleans. Oof. Yeah, very impressive. So, Jules, what has been the number one thing about this team that has impressed you the most?
Well, you got to talk about their run game, and everyone talks about it, but it's not just the offensive line. You look at the receivers. You look at an A.J. Brown who goes in and has to hit that safety on force, and he does it with a smile on his face. Devontae Smith, Goddard. Everyone is involved in the run game, and that's a little thing that goes a long way with teams because that's an effort play for a lot of those guys. That just spews all over the tape when you watch these guys. High effort for selflessness play. Yep. And that's the formula you need to go out and beat the champs because they're going to have to play a perfect game to beat Kansas City. You can't go out and have sloppy first half, have a bunch of offside penalties, holding calls, turnovers. You got to put your best foot forward, and usually when teams play selflessness and they know those little things, that's when they have their best opportunity.
Well, nobody knows that more than these Eagles against the Chiefs. I mean, you look at the last Super Bowl, it was a 38-35 game. It was a field goal difference between winning it all and not. And when you look at this team, Mark, there was drama, right? Where early on, or, throughout the season, where A.J. Brown makes the comment, we got to throw the ball. They were able to put it all together. What impresses you most about this offense?
Well, I think we talk about Saquon in this run game. You got to talk about their offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland.
Yep.
I mean, what an incredible job he's done for years now, finding a guy from Australia at left tackle, Mailata. I mean, what a story that is for international, growing the game. Then you got Lane Johnson, who's a cornerstone, their right tackle. Well, the guy playing right guard is Mekhi Becton, former first-round pick from the Jets, cast off. He's a bust. He can't play tackle in this league. Well, Jeff Stoutland finds a place for him. He throws him at right guard, and that guy's just throwing defenders around, and there goes Saquon Barkley with all his success. So you got to credit this team, the culture they've built, especially that O-line.
You talk about coaches and crediting the offensive line coach. We got to talk about the job of Vic Fangio and what he has done with this defense. How impressive is it, Mark?
Oh, seriously. I mean, remember, they lost the first round of the playoffs last year. They got embarrassed. They wanted everybody out of there. So they retooled this defensive staff. Now Vic Fangio comes in and gets a guy like Jalen Carter, who only played about half the game last year. He's doubled his plays this year, his production. Yeah. He's playing more of the game. Clint Hurt, the defensive line coach. I mean, you got to give these guys credit for changing the culture. You're telling me a guy like Zach Bond? Zach Bond, nobody knew that guy before the season. He comes from Wisconsin, 4 years playing special teams, barely cracks the lineup in New Orleans. And now he's an all-pro. He might be the defensive player of the year.
And has the cutest baby we've ever seen in that NFC Championship celebration. What stands out to you the most, Jules, when you hear Mark talk about culture and bringing in guys like a Vic Fangio or Jalen Carter, all these different tools? What stands out to you the most on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, last year at this point, we were talking about they didn't have anyone in the secondary. They couldn't stop anyone. They had a good run defense. And then they go out and draft Mitchell from Toledo. Mac Daddy, shout out, let's go.
Ooh, Mac.
Then they get DeJean in the third round. And they have Blankenship, who's, compounded another better year. And this whole unit has become a strength in, like, a lot of their, not necessarily their defense, but, like, when I see them go out and get a big hit, you see DeJean rock King Henry. Oh, yeah. It gives the team a jolt of energy. You didn't see that last year from this secondary. This secondary has improved tremendously with the help of Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman getting new players in there. I mean, it's been real impressive to see, and it's been fun to watch, and it gets that hair on the back of your neck flying when you watch these boys, because it's a swarm defense. They're playing hard, and I also think Vic Fangio's how he practices. I heard he throws a hard practice with Jalen Carter is a big thing. They practice hard, and it shows because they play so hard on Sundays.
Did you notice the difference when you played, like playing that way in practice and having it translate to the...
You definitely did. I mean, the harder practice was, the better we played on Sunday, because you're basically trying to make the situations as hard as possible for your team. So then when you have to adjust in the game, because there's going to be adjustments, you can fly, and you've been in that situation before at practice. So the harder the practice is, iron on iron, your goods events your goods. That's what translates into good football on Sunday. They used to say one thing in New England: practice execution becomes game reality. And I couldn't agree with it more.
Say it again for the people at home.
Practice execution becomes game reality.